Is it already that time again, kids? Time for Midnight's Edge After Dark? Greetings and salutations. I'm Tom Connors. With me is one of my partners in crime, Jesse Miller of Jesse Miller over the Crow's Nest. How you doing, my friend?
Honestly, I can't complain. Life's pretty okay. Having a good day. I bought a giant piece of meat today. I will say that, yeah, those I did that
What?
stickers
You
are
went and got a
right.
black prostitute?
No, I got a no, I got a prime rib. That's what I do on Christmas because I like to cook.
Nice.
And it was like $75 more than last year. Thank you, Joe. I mean Brandon,
Right. You know,
asshole.
that pisses me off, and I forgot to ask for it today, and I'm kind of glad I did because it's so expensive. But that little Mexican restaurant I always go to get my good stuff, like
Hmm.
she makes this little homemade, or it comes in these little cups, but she makes this homemade like green tomato, salsa taco sauce stuff.
I guess salsa verde thing.
Yeah, yeah, and she was talking about how the price has gone up so fucking much that it's like what used to cost her, like I think she said she used to be able to get like a whole big crate of them for like $20 is now like 100 and something.
Damn.
Yeah,
That's just fucking ridiculous. But you know what? Supply chains. Keep saying it.
I know, but yeah, anyhow. And also with us today is the one, the only Script Doctor. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. It's a little warmer where I am, so I'm very happy. I don't have to have the space heater on today.
Yeah, what's
I had to go
going
all
on
the way
here?
to the channel just to get to this damn live stream.
Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah. That's how long it
Aren't you
took.
subscribed and all that business?
Yeah, I'm a member.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So why shouldn't? Yeah, you should be fucking
I'm
YouTube.
on that Congo shit.
Congo,
Congo!
Yeah,
comes
that's
with
what we need.
cocaine.
We needed Congo Resurrection. That's what we
Comes
need.
with my cocaine. That doesn't mean I send you any coke. That means that you actually get the actor Michael Caine.
You know, there's a lot of good actors in Congo that I would chill
My
with.
cocaine.
No, it's got a
Bruce
good cast.
Campbell, Ernie.
That was a
Yeah.
funny fucking joke, and nobody got it.
Well, yeah, it's a pun
Cocaine.
on Michael Caine.
My
Yeah.
cocaine. That's how he says his name too. I'm
Yeah,
my
it is.
cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Back in the
these
day,
years,
that was
everybody
looked at
thought my
as
name
a
was Michael.
back in the day, wasn't that looked at as a lowbrow accent, and then because of him, it like became classy.
The Cockney kind of accent or whatever.
He's got more of a posh Cockney thing going on.
Yeah, yeah.
You see, sir, some men they just don't understand. They just want to watch the world burn. I can't do a good Michael Caine. He's got a
So
weird
he's
way
all
of
like
talking.
tangerine.
It's like
Now
a
I never saw the
tangerine.
movie, but I saw the house that it bought for my mother. It's beautiful. That's what he said about Jaws: The Revenge.
Yep.
Casperius, how you doing, friend? Says we are charging you late fees. Oh wait, crud. This is how it's supposed to. This is not how it's supposed to work. Yeah, like if it was rental, I should be paying you late fees. But no, I'm late, and sorry about that. We were waiting to see who else was going to show up. Mikey is traveling, so hopefully he's doing well. He said he might try to stop in if he can, but I know he's probably running on fumes. And I believe that's the only super chat we've gotten so far. So I think we're caught up there. But wow, look at all these people in the house tonight. Look at this. I like this. Look at that fucking icon.
Rando Commando.
That's like the Rambo game we never got as kids. Hey yo,
You know, I'd buy it.
I will blow your face off.
I call people randos all the time in GTA. I fucking can't stand randos. They're very untrustworthy.
But I like the
Not
Rango
you, not
Commando. It's
you.
kind of like anyone
That's
could
just
be
a
him.
name. Exactly. They're
uh,
usually low level and do dumb shit.
do you use gamer
Listen,
words? And actually, we did get one from before the show. It looks like Floral under a rock. How you doing, friend? Says you're beautiful. I mean it this time. Oh yeah, because of the typo.
what about all those other times? I thought you loved
Well, he
me.
just wasn't thinking. He just was happy to get some sex. That's all.
You know, ass is ass.
Ass his ass, especially when you don't have to pay for it, right?
Any port in a storm.
We got 6 in the house. Is not sure there's a bunch of people here with me though. Um, I where
What?
at work? Are you working or are you home? We had a Rambo cartoons, but not Rando. Oh yeah, no, I meant video game. There was that one video game, but it was just like every other fucking video game. It was so bad, or at least not good enough, that most people were like, "Yeah, Contra's a better Rambo video game."
What was that? What was that top down arcade game that had the yellow fucking turn joysticks, and you could like throw grenades and shit? It was badass.
Not
And eventually
sure.
became a tank. Sick game.
Who am I
some
calling
cool
a
shit.
hoe? I did not call anybody a hoe.
Hoes, hoes, hoes. Merry Christmas.
Ho ho ho! Now I have a machine gun. How?
Oh, don't kill me.
And we got a pooper sticker from Deranged Lunatic. How you doing? Thank you so much for that. So welcome everybody to the house. Hopefully you're having a great day. I'm doing okay. I had to edit a video that you guys possibly saw over on the main channel. We have another one that's coming soon, but unfortunately we have to wait to drop it. I did not call Six a hoe. I would never
Why
call
would you do that?
anybody a piece of garden tools. That's just bullshit. Countdown to Resurrection. Oh yeah, does anybody really care about the Matrix? I mean, seriously.
No, not one bit. I already know how what's going to happen. Why would I care?
Now,
Yeah.
Script, you talked to somebody who saw it. I mean, I've seen a few reviews, and none of them are very nice to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the reviews are not very positive, and I kind of understand them. But yeah, one of my buddies managed to see an early screening of it. Didn't really like it much, but one thing that he told me to tell everybody else is that Neo is still the one. So yeah, he's not replaced, but there is some added things on there.
He's still the one, but the Courtney Cox looking bitch is more 1 year than him, right?
More 1 year.
No, actually not. It just
Does he get her pregnant with a Christ child?
No. What ends up happening with a little bit of spoilers is that from the trailer you can tell that Neo doesn't really know what's going on in his reality, so it takes him a while to remember that he's the one.
Chef still cares.
I'll die on that hill. Oh, you're gonna be dying alone. Man.
Didn't one of the Wachowski sisters already sacrifice themselves on that hill? I mean,
they sacrificed something because they used to be brothers.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother story.
That's a sequel we don't need to get into.
Yeah, but no, I mean, listen, I guess it's supposed to be on HBO Max in what, 6 hours, 7 hours? It's going to drop.
So, I think so. I think it said 3 a.m. Was it Pacific time? I can't remember.
It's 3 a.m. Pacific. That's going to be like 6 a.m.
Eastern. No, it was 3 a.m. Eastern time and whatever that is Pacific.
I'm just sitting here trying to think of something this movie could do to make me give a shit about it. The fact, he's hooked on blue pills so that he's not Neo anymore.
Let me put it to you this way:
if found a whole bunch of red pills, then he's going to do some Neo shit. And,
okay. Before, if you ask me, am I going to the theater to see Matrix? No. The chances of me watching it went up astronomically when it was the fact that it's going to be on HBO Max.
Oh, I'll watch it shit-faced over the holidays.
Like, yeah, I'll end up watching it possibly tomorrow morning or whatever. But I'm in no fucking hurry. I have no... I felt burnt after the second one. And evidently most people did because the third film came out like 6 months after the second film and made 150 million less.
Yep. No, I remember when the second one came out. I spent about maybe 2.5 weeks having to translate what the architect said in that scene to all my friends because they had no idea what was going on.
I don't think they even knew what they were saying.
I didn't like those two white twin guys.
Oh, the ghost twins,
did.
Yeah, the ghost twins. Yeah, they were. They
Matrix to white.
They looked like they came out of Highlander 2.
This is true.
They really did.
Deleted Scenes, aka Steven, how you doing, buddy? Says, hail Tom, Jesse, Script, and Mods, head chat. Oh, hail Mods and chat. I'll watch Matrix 4 on HBO for Keanu and Carrie, but I'm not expecting much. Looks like I'm dying with Chef.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing I heard is don't expect much from this because there's not much. It's 2 hours, but there's not much there.
At some point, we're going to talk about Kingsman, right?
Oh, we can bring it up.
Because Deleted has a little tidbit about that fine film.
Well, I know Mike is actually looking forward to the Matrix, but he's not with us here tonight because he's flying, or he just landed here not too long ago, I think he said. But no, like
I'm sure he'll be watching it on a tablet.
the Kingsman thing, I'm surprised they're not really saying they're not the projections for it are not very good.
There
But it
hasn't been much
seemed
advertising really for
I'm
it.
gonna
Has
go.
I was just
I'm
gonna say
gonna
I
go
haven't
see
seen
it.
shit for advertising, and the reaction it got in the theater from the trailer was like most people didn't even realize it was coming. But it did seem to get like some decent reactions from the audience.
You know why? Because they should have showed the War Pigs trailer again, with the generals gathered in their masses, with Brad Sputin coming looking all fucking pimp.
Oh no, that's not my point. The point is that like Script just said, I don't think they've been advertising this movie for shit.
Dude, I've known about this movie for 2 fucking years or something.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is most people forget shit like that. They're not like us who actually think about these things often.
I'm sure. But like this dude, I really want this movie to like be seen because this dude looks like Rasputin hardcore, and I like Rasputin a lot
I
because
mean,
he's cool as fuck.
the last two movies were better, were well received, but they did better overseas than they did here. But the first one made like
was
128
really good,
million, and then the
Yes,
second one
the
made like
first one was
100.
good. The second one sucked.
the second one, it
was
felt like it
campy.
should have been like the fifth or sixth movie in the franchise, not the
Yeah, it
second
was
one.
it was really campy. It had a very B movie vibe because of what's his face, Tatum.
Channing Tatum, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's just not an actor. I'm sorry.
No, you have nothing to be sorry about there.
He's a pretty boy that chicks like. Well, he could go do some Fabio
Yeah,
covers
he
and
married,
shit for you. I don't want to
was
watch him
it
in a movie.
Jessica Dewan, the runway model?
Now,
And she left him.
Script, is it true that some taterhead out there actually thought it was a good idea for Tatum to play Gambit?
Yeah, he was actually going to be a producer for that Gambit, one of the Gambit films.
Could you imagine him mush-mouthing out a Gambit accent?
Yeah, I can.
I can't even. I can't. I just can't. I'm out. Yeah. But Rasputin, I really like, and I think that if they do him cool in the movie, that would be awesome for a villain because he was a mystic. He turned to the mystical arts when he saw the flagellants going through his town when he was a kid, and he never bathed. He had a cult of women that followed him, and he banged 4 whores a day. The police followed him around, and he had so
They
much
could probably
power.
smell him pretty easily if he never bathed.
True. He went to bathhouses constantly. He would just bang whores and then leave. He would never shower. He would never bathe. Weird.
Sounded like what somebody used to say about Rob Zombie, but then I heard that's probably not true. But I don't know.
I think that's just makeup.
I don't know.
But the cops followed him around because they wanted to know what he was up to. So this is all documented. Like, this isn't just like people saying things about him. This is what the police recorded. He used to do this like every day.
32 flavors of Nick Weiser. How you doing, buddy? He's in the house. Says Reloaded was all right until Colonel Sanders arrived. I checked out of that movie pretty goddamn early. I can't even believe I bought them multiple times.
I gotta disagree with Nick because I think it's always good when Colonel Sanders arrives because that extra crispy shit's mighty tasty.
You know what's sad is when
you're watching a movie, you could use some chicken.
Yeah. You know what's even sadder though is when you've actually bought a movie more times than you've watched it.
Oh, I've done. Yeah,
I haven't done that yet, but
I've done that with The Matrix now. That's for sure.
Oh boy.
Well, and the last time it was on accident. That's the funny part. Did I tell this story? I think I've told this story. I grabbed, and this is all because the new 4K covers for these fuckers look almost identical.
Yep.
So at Walmart, I thought I was grabbing the first Matrix. And it turns out to be like Reloaded or Revelation. I don't even remember which fucking one it was. It was one of the goddamn sequels. And I'm like, son of a bitch. And I couldn't find the fucking receipt. Well, and then I went out there to I'm like, I already got this one. Can I exchange it? Whatever, blah, blah. Usually Walmart's cool as long as you got the receipt. They don't have Matrix 1. They only had Matrix 2 and 3. They never even had the first one there on the shelf, evidently. So I was like, son of a cocksucker. And I'm like, so I ended up having to keep it basically. So then I finally ordered the first and third one just to finish off. I was so pissed because I never had planned on buying 2 and 3 this time. I'm like, nope, I'm not buying 2 and 3. I already have them in that big box set thing. Don't need them again. I'm just buying the first one, and that's what happens.
You got
Then I got
OCD
completion
like a
anxiety.
motherfucker. Yeah, you do. It's a good thing you're not a comic book collector. You go batty.
Oh, that sucks when I do something like that. Yes. And also joining us tonight, and hopefully I'll be joining him in a couple hours here.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Actually,
Hey,
a little
hey.
less than that now.
Hey.
Mr.
up,
Nick
guys?
Weiser himself, as he has a super chat on the screen here. How you doing?
I'm like, I had to, because that's like my biggest memory from Reloaded was the fact that you had that guy called the Architect, and then when what was that thing called? Video Music Awards was relevant back in
Yeah.
03, and then they had the parody with it was Will Ferrell who was the Architect. He looked like Colonel Sanders in there, and then they had Andy Dick during that whole scene with remember when Morpheus was like, talk about machines, and there's like that whole gathering of who knows what they were doing, and then Andy Dick's like, Morpheus, what can we expect from this orgy? And then Morpheus like, machines, and I also got really awkward, like, that's really awkward.
George
Andy
Carlin did
Dick
it
is
better.
awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, but dude,
Actually,
I remember
that's being too nice. He's a piece of shit. But anyway.
No, he is. But I remember being in the theater opening weekend for Reloaded, and like I enjoyed the action, but the story was so convoluted. I was just like, what the hell is going on here?
Didn't you feel like that, 2 and 3, the entire films were just excuses to do special effects?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I saw
Honestly-
3 opening weekend. Now I'm like, dude, this thing is even
How many
more
Mr. Andersons
confusing.
can you fight?
I want to ask Script this from a script writing point of view. They always claim they had some trilogy in mind. I call bullshit on that.
No, the rumor was that they had 7 films they wanted to do.
Oh my god.
Oh
Warner
my
Brothers didn't want to
God.
pay for 7. And
I
so
think
the
they're just
rumor is
saying it.
that they had to cram in everything they wanted to do in 7 in those two films.
Why? It doesn't even make sense regardless.
I know.
See, because I would argue that, like, okay, that makes sense. That it makes sense, like, for something like, I don't know, because the end of that movie, it would make sense if it actually made sense after the fact. Because nothing in the second and third film add up after the first film. Because
Well, the first
basically,
film has one issue, which is that the goal is to find the one, and the plan is to free the minds of humanity so that they can rebuild. It's like, okay,
Right.
that's awesome. So what's your follow up to that? Is you either free the minds or you don't. So like there's not really much you can go at that point. And they try to make it into a little bit something more existential by saying there has to be a harmony between AI and
dum dum.
I was just thinking, didn't En Vogue already solve this with a very sexy
Free
music
your
video?
mind, and the rest will follow. Be
Hell yeah.
colorblind, don't be so shallow.
and yet that song was never in the Matrix. It would have fit quite well.
Okay, I want to know your guys' predictions on this movie. Will it either be Trinity is the new one, or will the title of the one just be like an idea or some mantle where they share?
I already
him
know
and
the
he'll
answer to
share
I was
it?
going to say, Script actually shared a little bit of that. He talked to somebody who's seen it, and he kind of.
Can you just throw the spoiler thing up and tell us what the fuck happens? Because no one wants to watch this movie all the way
You
through.
just want me to really save you 2 hours?
There you go. There you go.
Ready? Okay. So basically, what it is,
Hang
Neo
on,
is still
hang
the
on.
one. Neil Patrick Harris plays.
Wait,
Doogie
Neil Patrick
Howser's in
Harris is
this?
in this?
He is in this. He's the analyst. He's the guy who's made a new Matrix. And
Lord.
according to my friend,
It's a new Coke?
according to my friend, the current Matrix is a more depressing Matrix because it gives more output of energy to the humans in the batteries. So like they get more energy when you're living in a comfortable life, but you can't get exactly what you want, and therefore that produces more battery output for the machines. Trinity is in the Matrix along with
Why?
with Keanu Reeves, and they've been in the Matrix for an additional 60 years after the last movie.
60 years?
Yes.
But
So how
they
fucking
aged-
old is Neo in his
Yeah,
little
what the
cocoon
fuck?
coffin? He's going to be like a billion. He's dead. Don't they know
Well,
how
there's a
long
reason
people
there's a
live?
title called the Resurrection is there deliberately as a title.
For
Oh,
fuck's sake,
God.
they're dead.
So now he's a dead ghost in a machine. This is gay.
Nope. He's still powering the
With a hard
Matrix and his
age.
Trinity.
Even though she
Almighty.
died in Revolutions, what's it called? The Red Revolutions. Like,
And wouldn't you think that they would get a better chemical reaction out of us from Euphoria?
You think?
Hell yeah, synapses popping.
That's what I'm saying. Like, anyway.
But
Samuel L.
here's the
Jackson
thing.
taught me that power of
Neil-
suggestion.
So Neil Patrick Harris figures out that the anomaly is one part of a binary system, and that because
I
of
already
Neo
don't care.
and what has changed, and because of his love for Trinity, it turns out that the two of them have a binary code that is very important. And because of that code, Trinity has access to whatever Neo can do, and Neo has access to whatever Trinity can do. So they're both able to have powers of the one, but Neo is still the main one.
oh, so he's the main one, but
did
it
they
sounds like
just-
she's even on his level. Am I hearing that right, or is that not what?
Well, she has the same abilities as him, but like, the concept of strength and mind stuff, they're still separate, right? They're still separate individuals.
Are you sure that the writer wasn't just like, hey, binary, that's a computer term I could use to mean something else?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the way Script
yeah.
explained it
This is
before, it sounded
retarded.
more like the diode thing they tried doing with Rise of Skywalker. And then if you think about it, like he also said something about like she has a code that the Matrix needs or some shit like that.
The thing is that when they're together, an energy happens, and if they're apart, more energy happens, and it's the goal of the of Neil Patrick Harris to keep them apart.
So it's Hancock.
To a degree, yeah, it's got a little bit of that. Except the thing is, the characters don't get weaker when they're apart; they get stronger. Or sorry, they don't get weaker when they're together.
I'm just gonna go right ahead and skip this movie.
But yeah, so like Neo is rebooting himself, like he's trying to remember how to do the things he can do.
It should have been called Reboot.
And he can do a bunch of them.
I'm gonna go watch John Wick 3 and decorate something.
And then, but Trinity can do some of the other things that Neo could do in the previous, but she can't do some of the others, right? So like they're both like they're off balance in that regard. They can't all do the powers of the one until the very, 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 very end.
Well, wasn't that like the whole trick of
though?
Hancock though? Was like they thought they were whatever, but then they actually get together and they're even stronger or some shit like that.
No, when they get together, they start losing their powers.
Well, yeah, when they got closer or whatever, but like
when they got closer, they started losing their powers and.
But there was like a trick.
He gets a brain injury, and so Charlize Theron just runs away so he'd heal.
A brain injury.
And then he couldn't remember anything, and so
I
that's
haven't
why
seen
he's
it in
depressed.
like 10 years, man.
But when they get closer together, they become mortal, and that's why so many of them died in that.
Oh, that's what the catch was. Okay.
Yeah.
Tony Yule says, just to start off, if you haven't seen the video that Chris Gore did the other day called Dear Hollywood, please go watch it and make it go viral. I have not had a chance to go watch it yet, but I've heard about it. And yes.
Is that on his Film Threat channel or Film Courage?
I was going to say, if it's not on, it's one of those probably. I know the one keeps releasing bits and pieces of his one interview he was talking about. So, yeah. So, yeah, check that out, kids. I'm sure it's worth the watch, even though I haven't seen it. And Ben is just calling out my name.
Tom.
I don't want to know if you're masturbating or not, but if you are, good for you. Just remember, everybody, you're somebody's reason to masturbate. Mecha J says the review saying Matrix Resurrections is like The Last Jedi hasn't done it any favors. Well, I don't know if you caught our video on Midnight's Edge earlier today, Mecha, but yeah, we talked a little bit about that.
I would say this: they don't really. I would say, from what my friend told me, he didn't get the impression that they Jake Skywalker Neo, but I mean, they don't. It's still got some issues.
Yeah, but you're a script guy, right? So let me ask you a good question here. If I was going to be some evil type robot dude and I was going to architect myself a Matrix, why would I make it so that the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper got to get together to destroy me?
No, he doesn't. It's about. He says the concept of temptation and desire is more powerful than pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's what. So if say basically he puts in your case the most beautiful, perfect woman across from you, but you can never have her because she's in another relationship and she's unwilling to cheat or leave that person. That will generate more power.
Get the fuck out of my house.
Nope, that will put more power in the Matrix, and there's nothing that you can do as a user inside to stop that.
I'm more entertained
Why?
by the chat right now than what you guys
Yeah.
are talking about. I'm
Power
sorry.
out of it.
I'm
It's all
lost.
about getting
You
more
lost.
power.
Yeah, but that's all fine and dandy with the whole you can't have what you want shit. But why have a Neo and why have a Trinity?
Oh, that can't be changed.
And why is yeah, but why can't it be changed? Somebody built it that way.
Well, because they have a source code, right? Remember from the Matrix, like they have a source code in there that helps
did they
build
put
the
it in the
Matrix.
source code?
Yeah, they have a source code in there that helps build the Matrix. And the architect has his own reasons, convoluted as they are, I guess, to keep them in there.
So he fucked up and gave somebody the mod menu basically.
I guess I don't know what you're getting at with that question, but yeah, maybe.
Like in a video game, he'd have a recovery menu. It's like he has the admin section open to him.
Who, like the architect?
Yeah. No, Neo.
No, he doesn't. He's a player in this thing. He doesn't have much control until he leaves and then comes back.
Now, have the pills been subverted? The red and the blue?
No, the pills
They
are
have
the
not?
same. Nope, the
No
pills are the same.
way. I'm actually impressed of all the things.
If they're a binary system, how come he's named 1 and she's named 3?
But together they're 2. Oh, yeah, I know.
That's all dumb.
Does that mean that she's got to kill Neo? And
You guys are
him?
gonna make Script's head explode. You keep
I
asking
know.
questions.
Well, dude, make a stupid movie, ask stupid questions.
That's very true. Yeah.
Oh, this movie. Like, it's like, seriously, like,
It's not like we just watched Ghostbusters again.
it reminds me of what, like, like the later movies of like Nolan, where it's just like you watch it, it's just like I enjoy them, but I still don't know what they're about. I'm just
Well, I
like,
usually get what they're about. I just think they're pretentious bullshit.
oh yeah, I kind of agree there. Like, yeah, I've noticed, like, especially since Rises, they've gotten larger in scale. I feel like he's scaled, even though stories have been wider in scope, he has dialed down on the sense of coherent story for all this weird, convoluted. Like, seriously, this stuff is more convoluted than any X-Men comic I've read. Like, and that's saying a lot because the X-Men are like the king of retcons and changes. And
They are
stuff.
masterful at getting out of a corner, aren't they?
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
about masterful, but they do it.
Look,
Yeah.
sometimes the way to get out of a corner is to break through the wall behind you.
Yeah, unless you got, it helps when you have
Or
Juggernaut
super
to help
jump.
you,
Uh,
or
I'm
Colossus.
the juggernaut, bitch.
Super jumps of logic and reason.
Robert Montoya.
Only Ratner would put that meme into a movie.
Robert Montoya says, I'd have preferred 2 hours of Keanu Reeves alone in a room staring at the camera and just saying, dude. Well, wasn't that the third movie?
I thought that was
I thought that was
Bill
Whoa.
and Ted.
Yeah, but whoa, usually, yeah. Because he like sitting in that white room for most of the third movie, isn't it?
He's in the limbo part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's characters that come back in the Matrix Resurrections that were in that second and third movie.
Who fucking cares?
Keanu Reeves is totally amazed by everything.
And unfortunately, none of them is Lawrence Fishburne. Not that it matters anymore.
The Matrix
No, he went and worked on MacGruber instead.
could even be something that like is on my thumbnail. It is
So,
Hold
Like
on,
a
that
universe
means
and galaxy.
Colonel Sanders is in Resurrections.
whoa.
if they made
I'll
MacGruber
take
to a TV
2
show 10
breasts,
years later, right?
extra crispy.
Yeah,
Do they ever do the joke where they put the celery up his butt?
it's not celery.
It's not celery.
That's supposed to be good.
That's
he
all
have
I'm
a
telling
new
you. It's
move?
not celery.
It's a famous bull.
What?
I like the famous bulls.
How do you even get that up there?
They're full of potatoes and chicken
And cheese.
and cheese.
Welcome
And I
to
like
my
to
world.
dip French fries in them. It's like poutine.
What the fuck?
Just mix a bunch
Whoa.
of butter and sour cream together. You'll be good.
Oh, my face hurts.
That sounds oily.
Merry Christmas, everybody. God
Oh.
bless you, Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim. You're good at that, man.
Right? He's really good.
That's what happens when you watch
Yo,
Bill and
talk
Ted
like-
over and over again as a
Now
kid.
do Nicolas Cage as Big Daddy, where he's trying
Big
to be
Daddy.
Adam West. Yeah, from Kick-Ass, because it's basically Nicolas Cage doing Adam West. It's hard.
Nicolas Cage. Shit. Well, I can do Nicolas Cage. I can do Adam West. But I don't know if I can do them together. That's weird.
It is weird, but it works.
Only Nicolas Cage can do that.
Well, chum. Sounds like I'm trying to do some old lady having a heart attack or something.
All right, so basically, Matrix is a bonus movie to make fun of, so we got that going for us. So what else is on the horizon?
It's just DL, okay? It's just extra content.
DLC,
Tony Yule,
yeah.
or DLC, yeah. Tony Yule says Keanu Reeves himself has stated, and I quote, "This new Matrix movie is a bad of a disappointment as Star Wars Episode 5 or 6 or VI, Return of the Jedi."
Oh,
I meant to say Episode 8, Revenge of the Ryan Johnson.
Every rose has its thorn.
Just like every night has its dawn.
Damn it.
Just like every cowboy.
Return of the
sees a
Jedi
sad.
Return of the Jedi's problem compared to the other two is that Leia and Han Solo don't have their own individual story in that film. It is primarily Luke and Vader.
Now, okay, what are the box office expectations? Is it expected to eclipse Spider-Man, or is it supposed to be a number 2?
Wait a minute. I got a button for
great
this.
one.
You better be Elon Musk.
I got a button for this.
You serious?
No, Susan. What is Warner Bros. Actually expecting to make?
The
30 million
expectations right
opening
now is
weekend?
about 30 or 40 million, probably.
Okay,
yeah.
so
They're going a little higher than that, but if it does that, I'd be surprised, especially up against Spider-Man when it's on HBO Max. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's true. There's the whole HBO Max thing, and it seems like the whole HBO Max thing, besides Dune, like you've had the Suicide Squad, Godzilla versus Kong, Mortal Kombat, and
Mortal Kombat sucked, but
the point being is a lot of these dual releases is not working out. Obviously, Dune happened to be exceptional, but even then, I still think it may have made even more money because luckily it had some legs in the box office because it's now at 106 domestically, so it has.
You're right. The IMAX screenings helped that movie.
Yes, the IMAX definitely helped it, and I think like if you had taken out of the equation, it could maybe done maybe 120, 130, or maybe I'm just being too optimistic.
If you took HBO Max out of the equation,
Yeah.
Dune was easily a $400 or $500 million movie.
Wow, so that much.
Because
Wow,
Godzilla versus Kong did well enough that if it hadn't had HBO Max, it probably would have done anywhere between $800 million and $1 billion, probably.
Oh, I believe. I mean, I think it hit just about 100 million stateside as well. Man, what were they thinking?
And now with Spider-Man doing this, they're gonna, and nobody is gonna do a day and date for years.
Nope. Yeah, Spider-Man crushed the whole day and date. They crushed the whole pandemic narrative. Like they crushed it all into oblivion. Even with all the restrictions, mandates, and all the other current buzz terms to describe all the situations, Spider-Man did numbers that even movies in normal era wishes it could do. And that just shows you people really responded with this flick. And I'm in a town with around 30,000 people, and there's 3 theaters within my radius, within a half-hour radius. All of them. I drove by all of them just to see what they're like after I got out Thursday night. All 3 of them, their parking lots were jammed. All 3 of them.
Well, we'll know for sure for this coming Christmas weekend because, again, Spider-Man is still a huge brand worldwide. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that it was not going to exceed north of 90 million on its opening weekday. So we can say, like, on the analytics side of things, you could safely assume that for its opening weekend, it was going to get that regardless if it was a good film or not. But I don't think it's going to have a massive drop-off in the same way that, like, Eternals or Shang-Chi had. I think it'll be like maybe 30 to 45%. I'd be surprised if it had a 50% drop-off.
I think that'd be the worst case possible scenario. Let's not forget to what Spider-Man does have going for it versus the Matrix is Spider-Man does bring the family together. so that helps bring the
Oh,
family
definitely.
together.
Yeah.
Yes.
But for
Absolutely.
$638 million, does it even matter if it drops off?
For the
That's just
studios,
it.
yes and no. I mean,
I
they
mean,
would like to get the
that's kind
most
of a
money they
king's
can.
ransom.
No, but I get what Jesse's asking. Like, yeah, even if it has a 60% drop, that's still making more money than most movies made in their entire run this last
Yeah,
year.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
The
ideally,
numbers
like
are
they
just
just want to
that
make the
big.
most they can. So
Oh yeah, but I'm with
Hell yeah.
script. I think with the response we saw this weekend, I feel like it will have a bit of a sharp drop, but it won't be huge, but it'll be enough that it'll be kind of like wow, but there's other competition coming out too. That's the other thing.
Now, do any of you guys have normal cable?
No, I
No,
haven't had
not
that in
in years.
years.
Because I'm curious about what the commercial saturation is.
I
For,
generally ask my
normal
dad
shows.
or my mom if they've heard of something. That's generally if I get a gauge on whether or not they're doing a good job advertising, because that's
It's
all
hard
they
to tell
watch.
because we all just stream everything now.
yes.
Well, that's
Actually,
just it. Yeah.
that's a good question. I should definitely ask my dad because my dad doesn't. He lives off of old TV, and he doesn't usually go to movies theaters anymore. But he did come out for No Way Home, and it's because it was the right flick. And even though he's in his 60s, it was the right flick that brought him out. He didn't think about the Rona or all that. So he just said, "Hey, look, I want to see this flick." He didn't think about fear or any of that stuff. And I'm sure there are people who will never go back. I'm sure that's definitely there will always be someone out there who will never go back, and that's fine, whatever. But I think it's safe to say the right movie will bring in the right crowd to put the right asses in the seats. I mean, if you think about it, like I'm in near Chicago area, we just held Lollapalooza, which has thousands by the tens of thousands. And you're telling me auditoriums of 100 or 200 is supposed to be like people won't go to that versus the tens of thousands packed like sardines at a concert. I don't know where that logic comes from, but okay.
Because they can't breathe in any coronavirus through all the weed smoke.
Weed.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think Spider-Man will have I think maybe at the worst, I think somewhere between 45 and 55 drop. It's going to have legs. And it helps too that the weekend is Christmas Eve and day on the actual weekend. And families love going to the movies on Christmas weekend. So that has that going for it.
It is always a nice break, and it's a great thing to do with the family. And it's really,
Yep.
people need to relax and enjoy life again. So yeah, go to the movies.
Go to the movies, guys. You hear that, chat? Go see Spider-Man again. But
They
don't
still
see the
have
Matrix,
that
please.
butter stuff they call butter, and
Extra
it's
butter.
delicious.
Oh, dude, I dredged my popcorn that last night, like because I saw Spider-Man again, and I just
What is it
kept
with
pushing
butter
the
today
button.
keep coming up?
I don't know, but sometimes you just need to get that
First, we were
second
talking
small
about it for
soda
like
to fill
20
it up with
minutes.
butter.
We were talking about butter for like 20 minutes on Culture Casinos earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You and I were talking about Butterface on the phone earlier.
Yeah, that's true. You know what though? It's because we're near the holidays and everybody's going to bust out their good recipes, which means that a stick of butter goes into everything.
Whoa.
Hell, I know how to cook. I'll make you something delicious.
Ooh.
We got Diego in the house. How you doing, buddy? Says actually Spider-Man is even helping family movies get a little second wind since families can't get tickets to go see Encanto and Ghostbusters. Yeah, there's a couple things opening up this weekend though that we'll see how that rolls.
Hey,
But yeah,
can I ask a
Sing
random
2 is supposed to
question?
be coming out, I think, this weekend too. What's up?
They made Encanto, but there's already a movie called Enchanted. They made two movies.
I didn't even think
the
about
same
that.
thing. The fuck?
I don't know.
Disney not
What do they
speaking
call
Spanish?
Enchanted in Spanish? Do they call this Enchanted
I
in
don't
Spanish
know.
and then call that Encanto? And it's just vice versa?
They call it that gringo bitch with the ice. I don't know.
Tony
Well,
Yule said,
wait, isn't Enchanted in Spanish Encantanda or Encantado?
I don't know.
Isn't there an extra A
My
in that? I
Spanish
don't know.
teacher had great legs.
well, Paulie's in the chat. He can help us with this. Tony Yule says, here's my question. Where the hell is Warner Brothers or HBO Max dealing damage control? With what part though? They don't see any damage done. So if you mean by the whole like Last Jedi comparisons and all that kind of stuff, they don't see.
I don't think they care at this point because
Yeah.
they're doing a merger.
Encanto.
Would they admit it I mean, we're in the day and age where a lot of these studios don't want to admit to when they actually make, a mistake on something. Like, long gone are the days where a Sam Raimi will say, you know what, inserting Venom in the Spider-Man 3 is a mistake. Nowadays, anyone makes a mistake, you can't say that. You are an istophobism.
There you go, Jesse.
So how do you say enchanted?
I don't fucking know.
It says
Why are you asking
Encantada in
me?
Spanish. At
I
least doing
barely
it.
took German.
Barely took
I
German.
was saying language.
No one takes German.
I had the opportunity. I took it.
Thinking one of these days, these people are going to take over, so I better be prepared.
Yeah, right.
I'm
No,
a
actually,
smart.
I'm
He
partially
decided to
German,
learn a
so-
language that no one would ever speak, so that no one could ever
Hey,
say he's doing it wrong.
I can understand words sometimes when Andre sends me messages that aren't for me. He fucks up and sends me messages all the time, and it's always in fucking Norwegian, and those words are similar. So sometimes I can kind of pick out what he's saying, and it's just like, yeah, that wasn't for me, was it? He's like, no, fuck.
Copy paste, send to the right number.
Yeah. What no graphics says, do you think streaming services will implode too many? Well, we've actually talked about this quite a bit. What no graphics? Yeah, eventually it's going to come to a point where first you'll start. So we're already seeing this in a way where Amazon will offer a lot of them a la carte, so you don't have to go other places to get them. And then at some point, a lot of them will just get bought up or merged with or be a part of some of these other ones. Or if the government won't allow that kind of a merger, then they'll just end up going belly up and going back to licensing a lot of their stuff out like they had started to do in the first place, which is what made this whole thing seem lucrative to them to begin with.
Yeah, I think it'll become service, basically service provider dependent. I think the worst case scenario is that Warner Brothers HBO Max will be an included service with AT&T if you're an AT&T user, and then Disney
Right.
and Paramount Plus and Amazon will have to find pairings from other service providers.
Basically,
to roll
5
that.
of the big ones will survive, is about it.
Pretty much, yeah. You'll have like five streaming services, like we had 5 networks in the 90s.
That's about right. And you'll have a few little ones here and there that can afford to do it. But it's like, again, the type of content you're going to start to see out of these services will completely be delegated by how many subscribers they have. So even though like these companies want to continue to spend 10, 15 billion dollars a year on entertainment for them, sooner or later it's going to hit a wall. That's where the problem's going to be. And then the other side of it is something that Script and I always bring up is it'll eventually turn over to a point where they'll just start doing advertising. Some of them already have. So then it's just basically like cable all over again.
It's going to be cable on demand or network television.
I feel like we're already there. I already know, granted, of people who get all the streaming services, which I don't get. It's just like, well, at that point, yeah, it's kind of like cable where you own 200 plus channels, but use 5 of them.
Exactly.
Well, not just
You
that,
know
but I
why?
mean,
Because
the
every
commercials
different
and stuff,
service
yeah.
has one fucking show on it that you want to watch.
Yeah.
If they could just
It's
get all
getting
the
to that
good shit in
point.
one area, then you wouldn't have to buy 5 different things. But that's
Yeah.
what they do.
I only have like 4 or 5 streaming services, and you know what, man, less is more, and I get the use out of them, and I have physical media.
5 is
so
still a lot, though.
I spend like what, $60 for all of them, and cable out here by me is like in the hundreds. I'm the one who's actually saving money, unlike all the people who were claiming to wanting to save money by getting rid of cable for the streaming service. I think, oh hey, now they're streaming, I had to get them all. It's just like, no, don't get them all. That's you might as well have not gotten rid of cable in the first place because of the money you're spending. For me, getting rid of cable, I actually did save the money because I went from what, $200 to I'm at around 60, as I said earlier. So yeah, I saved $140.
Yeah, that's the thing is cable is just so expensive on top of it all.
Hey, you made
And-
me realize that I'm subbed to 4 different things.
I know, I'm subbed
I always
to
forget about
many.
Boomerang because that's for my
Yeah.
kid.
Well, and I mean, actually, I wasn't planning on getting on this topic, but it actually reminds me of an article I saw earlier, and just the number of. This is something that Andre and I have brought up many times over. Is what was going to happen is this is going to create good competition, but it's going to be so much shit that so much stuff is going to get, so many good things are going to get completely unwatched, and there's going to be a lot of garbage that's going to, rise to the top of the surface. Like you got that Wheel of Time shit that's the number one show on Amazon right now. But clearly, it's not going to hang on to that role, I'm sure. But like all
Dude,
of a sudden
when they
here,
say the shows that are trending today in America, I'm like, no one's watching this shit.
well, it depends on what you're talking about. But no, the point I was getting to is like because we did this video earlier, I didn't know they had a Sex in the City fucking reboot show on.
Oh, what?
I
Yep.
only know about that because of the article I read today. That
Yeah,
the guy's a little not a good man.
yeah, and then we also have the we were talking about it just before the show, MacGruber. There's all these like shows that are just kind of like out there that I don't remember us even hearing about them coming.
No, I heard about MacGruber today from you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
I
it's
heard
like,
about it from my girlfriend.
and this
I
is
talk
just
about-
a couple of them. There's a lot more than that.
talk about dusting something off that didn't work the first time.
Well, and that's the thing, and that was almost I was thinking about almost making that the topic, but there's so many other things to discuss. But like, no, I mean, like a short version of that discussion is just that is like, look at all these. We're getting like saturated with all these different things, and it's like normally we're on top of this business, but some of these are just coming out of the woodwork. And it's
Next
just
thing you know, there's going to be a new Alf cartoon.
well, there has been talks of that kind of stuff before about rebooting Alf, but yeah, the whole thing I think that kept it from being rebooted was that whoever wanted to reboot it didn't want it to be like the old situation, and the guy who owns and does Elf won't let anybody else do it. So it's kind of an impasse thing.
I was about to say Alf is
Yeah.
probably a hell of a lot cheaper than the Muppets.
Oh yeah, but that still doesn't matter. He's not something that's worth like they've tried a couple things with him. They've given him some shots.
Just wait for him to die. We're younger than he is.
Wow. Professor Gray says streaming wars are easy to fight with Plex. Yeah, you have that option as well. That's true, Professor Gray. Tony Ewell says, I'm kind of down now. I will never see old Hollywood again with great memorable films again. I would
That's
never.
not
Somebody wants
guaranteed.
to do
People
something
thought that in
good,
the
man.
60s.
Did they
movies
really?
used to have like overarching themes, and they
Oh,
used to mean
fascinating.
something when you went to watch something, and you got told this great story that just illustrated that without slapping you in the face with it, and it was good. But people don't like to make art anymore; they like to make the conveyor belt.
Okay, now script. If what you're saying is true, which I really hope that is actually, does that mean then that we're on our way to a? Do you think it's possible we could be on our way to a Spielberg or a Lucas or a Scorsese? Because think about it, right after the '60s, it wasn't long before you had all those visionary type of names. And if we're getting closer to that point, then. Well, maybe I'm just being overly optimistic. It's just that's reassuring is all I'm getting at.
I've
Well, I
actually
mean, it's
answered
hard
this,
to
but go
tell
ahead, Script.
because, I mean, right now Hollywood is very corporatized. It's all
Yes.
about math and spreadsheets, and they have the greatest con in the industry right now is to be in the marketing department because you can actually get away with saying I don't know how to sell that and just reject a project and still keep your job. But anything you want is you want someone who knows how to sell people what they don't need. Like you show me an advertiser who can sell a lifetime supply of condoms to a pair of lesbians, like that's the guy I want marketing my movie because other people will be able to know about it.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
But
that's
you're
very
never
good
going to
choice of
Why
words.
he's a
people
fucking
like
writer.
that these days. You're not going to meet many people like that these days in those departments because they have this type of power where they can say, well, if there's non-existing intellectual property to it, if someone else hasn't taken the risk to see if this works or not, why should we? And that's really antithetical to Hollywood because what made the industry is the fact that
The risks.
they brought a new technology such as movies to people, which was originally considered very lowbrow. It was so lowbrow that some of the first filmmakers of films were women because men were embarrassed to say that they worked as writers or directors for film. And when that changed, so did the industry, and it became popular. And then it had a nice little surge in the 30s and 40s with actual feature films, musicals, and then serials. And then it had a dip in the 50s and 60s, and then another burst in the 70s and 80s, and now it's it struggled to hold on in the 90s.
Well,
And now we're in another dip, and hopefully we'll be in another rise too. But it's going to be there are going to be wider gaps because number one, people live longer. Number two, institutions can last longer because of the amount of money that they can get quicker than they did before. And so, yeah, it's you have to wait for that new injection of fresh talent and ambition to sort of revitalize the industry, and that takes time. And there's a lot of people currently in the system now that don't really want to do that because of the risk.
I have
Hey,
another
Script,
point of view on
I
that.
got some ambition. How about this? Now, if I was going to try to sell two lesbians a lifetime supply of condoms, the way I would do it would be with one-time upfront purchase, and it wouldn't actually be for them. I would be giving the condoms to a Planned Parenthood-like organization. So then they'd buy it, and I'd never have to deliver the condoms because they're not going to check. Now I have all the money, and I have to buy anything.
That almost works.
It would need some polishing, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's a good start.
But no, like basically what Script said I agree with,
Sorry.
and another point of view on it though too is like when you hit the 60s when it comes to movies, like up to that point, the studios when they got like kind of running like they were where you actually had the studios, they basically ran like television, right? Like you had all your hired people. You didn't have like they do now. It's more of an independently hiring kind of system. Like, but then it was like you just had your in-house people, and they just get their whatever. You show up to work the next day, and one day you're working on this movie, the next day that one's done, and you start on something else. It's like, or you would work on two different productions in one day. You never know. They would even swap actors, and like for instance, famously, like the cast and crew for King Kong made two movies at the same time. But the other one was more famous, so you don't hear about the other one so much. That was kind of just a normal thing. And then to that point, when you got to the 60s, they just got sick and tired. People got sick and tired of the same old shit. All they really had was Westerns, sci-fi, monster movies, and musicals. And, the independent stuff was really just like your pot boilers and your noir type stuff back in the day. But like, they were just getting sick and tired of the same old shit. And you were getting movies like Cleopatra and things like that, which is basically what we're doing now, which is these bloated, big budget movies that never make the money they need to make. So like we're in a similar age now, kind of like what we were in the 90s when we had the resurgence of, the independent voice, because it kind of kicked off in, what was it, 68 or 69 that Easy Rider came out? Like
Around
that.
that would be the Roger Corman era. Like
Yeah,
where it really
that's
took
that.
off.
Easy Rider was the first one that really kind of got the
Set it,
attention
yeah,
and set it
got
in
the
all in motion. And from
yeah.
that, it steamrolled into guys like, Francis Ford Coppola and Brian De Palma, Scorsese, Lucas, Spielberg down the line. And then, those guys were the guys who made all the stuff that we fell in love with in the 80s. And then when we got to the end of the 80s, things started getting bloated again. And, you get to, the early 90s, well, that's when you started getting voices like Robert Rodriguez and Paul Thomas Anderson and Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino, of course, and all those guys. And you even had some other independent cinema from like Hong Kong, like what's his face, John Woo, and a few of the others. Yeah, and Ang Lee. So like, yeah, then you had that other resurgence. Well, we had a little bit of one like a couple years back, but like,
Well, the
it
current
was never
resurgence that
to,
we have
yeah.
is the superhero movie by way of Marvel, 2008. That's when it started, and between 2000 and 2008, there was a rather drop in quality of movies of that.
It's like they
that
always
time.
had trouble topping what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Black Panther hit really hard, and then he passed, and they were just shit out of luck for a while. That's just how it felt. And it's been downhill since there. Now it's starting to pick up.
Well, and then I think the other side of what Script was saying is one of the reasons I feel like we haven't been able to get that new voice come in like we had in those previous eras because of this manufactured bullshit that's going on in Hollywood right now. It is extreme gatekeeping.
I was gonna say it sounds like gatekeeping, but you beat me
Well,
to
the thing
the
is,
punch.
the industry's always been gatekeeping, but the key was that you're so good in tempting to make
That's
the
why I said
money that you
extreme,
would be
yeah.
brought in. But now it's like, well, it doesn't matter if you can make money. It's can you toe the company line of whatever this current age agenda is. And when the agenda is
Exactly.
not making money, it's really harder for people that know how to make money, or at least have interesting ideas that are like medium to low risk, but quite lucrative to break in, because they then have to be manipulated to fit into whatever current messaging is going to be dictated by the college graduates that are now reading these scripts and blocking your access from higher execs, and the execs at the top who only have one flow of one type of information coming to them when they used to have multiple avenues of that.
Okay, rando question. Would 2001 A Space Odyssey be greenlit today?
Not as is.
The book maybe, but it had to be addressing something a bit more ham-fisted.
But it would,
So there would be a
but it's a good
moderation
movie.
then.
Basically, right
what
now,
about,
people like Kubrick, people like Tarantino, anybody who's white and male probably would have less than none of a chance to get anywhere than like they used to. And see, it used to be like the other
Yeah,
side of it is even though it's probably a lot easier now after the shutdown to get your movie shown in theaters with digital, it's a lot easier. But back then, as long as you get your movie on film, your chances of getting it seen by people went up astronomically, right? Like in a theater, because then you could at least shop it around and stuff. And that's usually the first thing, is if you actually had something physical to show somebody and it wasn't junk, it was actual film. That was also a big deal. Like nowadays, it's like anybody can do anything, and YouTube is saturating the market at the same time, where it should actually be the avenue where people are able to get this stuff out there. But it's just, you got to dig through it all.
yeah,
Like
do,
Chris Gore
but
will tell you, there's tons of these movies that are coming out, but sadly they're getting buried underneath all this other stuff.
you bring up a good point though, because it's like independent content creators, they're out there for themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're putting far more effort and creativity than anything you're going to get out of this mass market bullshit. But it's like, I feel like in Hollywood, people, it's not even like they look at something and they're like, oh, this is too hard to do. They just like, they're just too lazy to even.
They're looking
Get
at
it.
Jesse to see
Yeah.
as what can this be a franchise, and that's why they look at everything else that has even stuff that was like what seemed like a one-off movie. Like, hey, can we make a sequel to that? It's like,
Yeah, but that's the thing.
imagine a
Do you want
press room.
Casablanca Part 4?
No, I don't. And like, I've already
blanketing.
imagined a boardroom meeting. It's just like, hey guys, what? Let's make a sequel. Other guys like, to what? And the other guy's like, who cares? Anything. And that's what they're doing.
That's
they're
true.
just
You're
they're
not
just
totally
slapping a
wrong,
sequel
but like
on
here's the thing
whatever
is,
they want.
a movie used to be like, okay, you'd have a good idea, right?
Yes.
Like Script probably has a half a dozen scripts that are just sitting there, and they're original ideas. And what you would try to do then is get either a director or a star attached to it who could give that idea some credit.
Mhm.
And then once you could manage to do something, then you could start shopping it around and say, look, I got this vehicle here for Sylvester Stallone. He's perfect for it. He's going to direct and star. That's a selling point. And it's an
Mhm.
original film. That used to get your foot not only in the door, but that would probably get you something greenlit 30 years ago. Nowadays, if you said that, they'd be like, oh, Sylvester
Is it an
Stallone,
IP?
okay. But yeah, I don't, is it a sequel? Can we make it a sequel to something? Can it be Rambo 6? You know, like that's what
Yeah.
they would do to you.
Not only sequels, can we do spin-offs of it?
It's a zombie movie.
Yeah, can we do spin-offs? Can we do prequels? Like, I mean, man, they're looking
That
for
too.
everything
That's another thing.
to
Yes,
make.
they look for potential of that, and generally, like that's why we get so little original stuff like John Wick
Mhm.
and stuff like that actually could be potential franchises.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that shot out 3 movies easily.
Yeah.
Nobody likes them.
And they were good. That's the thing.
Yeah,
and
they're fun.
it obviously revived Keanu Reeves' career, put him back on the map. And I do feel like that was partially why we're getting a 4th Matrix movie, because they wanted to cash in on Keanu's revival, say, hey, I want a piece of that. And they're going to not get that when they see it doesn't work out. And then John Wick 4 will probably do well. I truly believe John Wick 4 will do well alone
I'm
off
sure.
the first weekend numbers.
Because it's
Just
not
that
going to be
alone.
this.
Yeah, it's not going to be this. And then they're going to be shocked, like, oh, but that's the thing. Hollywood assumes that when they see a success at somewhere, they assume that it's going to translate to this. And they're assuming that with Keanu Reeves. Because
They have data that supports it to a degree. I mean, that's the thing. Like, they pick and choose what they think will work based on the data that they have, but they're not using the same pools of data today that they used to use 25 years ago. Like, you'd actually have people out on the streets canvassing and asking questions and interviewing people and gathering information that way. Now all they go is on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, etc., and get it that way. And not many people are really going to be honest on those social media platforms.
No, you're right.
Well, I hate to
They're
interrupt this,
not.
but we do have a guest in the back room. Welcome, George. How are you?
How you doing,
Hey,
my
George.
friend?
Hey, George.
What's going on?
George.
Good evening, my
Carl.
friend.
Good
We're just
evening, my
hanging
friend.
out pre-Christmas style.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that's always good. That's always good. Nick, how you doing?
Hey.
What's
Glad
going
to
on?
have
What
you
are we
here.
talking about?
We haven't even really got to our first story. We just jabbering and taking super chats and saying hello to everybody and all that business. Netter's Network says the butter on your popcorn is actually soybean-based, cholesterol-free, low-fat butter flavor. I used to work for Sony
What?
theaters, so I know for sure. This is true. Not only that,
That's
most theaters
gross.
they have artificial system in the vents that pumps out the popcorn smell to make you want to buy it.
Come on. So it's
It
like
works.
You didn't know
it's
that?
Only
like-
an independent
no,
theater
it's
might
like
have
a-
the real butter.
Oh, because I always go to this local theater around here, and it always.
If it's a
I had a
local
real-
theater, they
yeah.
might have real butter. That's very plausible.
I'm gonna just start bringing a hoagie.
Because I can taste phony, you know.
Oh,
like
yeah.
how I hate that. Even in
There's-
my own theater, I got one of those popcorn machines, and I order real butter because everything I found online was like that yellow stuff. They said for the
Yeah.
authentic cinema experience.
Looks like
would you-
oil.
Yeah, it does.
It is
does.
basically, yeah.
Mm.
It
But
tastes-
no, like I don't really get it a lot of times at theaters either, unless I'm really fucking hungry for that
Yeah.
reason.
I get it sometimes because I like the flavor, and other times if they put too much salt, I take a couple bites, you know, where it just cuts that.
You know, though, the thing is, people poo-poo using butter because they're like, oh, cholesterol this,
Oh, no.
cholesterol that. But the thing is, humans have been ingesting butter for a very long
Well,
time.
butter's
Since we
better
could
for
churn
you.
it.
We're
Well,
not
butter's
supposed to
better
be
for you than a lot
eating
of the
chemicals.
alternatives. Yeah, I was just gonna
Oh,
say all
yeah.
the alternatives are usually chemicals. That's the problem. Yeah.
Like,
But we're not
margarine.
nutritionists. I know
Wasn't
some
that
of us-
originally made as a grease?
So what were you
Margarine's
talking
not even
about?
food.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna catch up on super chats here, and then we'll get into the news stories. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Tony Ewell says, and here's the saddest part. There's a website called Fiverr.com with over 100 freelance scriptwriters looking for work. You're right, Tony. And not only that, I think here's the thing, and maybe this will give you just a little bit of hope. We're on the cusp of something here that's going to be similar to Comicsgate, but it's going to be with entertainment outside of that. I think pioneers like Robert Meyer Burnett are gonna pave that road, and we're gonna follow along because things like, you know, Tango Shalom, even though it isn't necessarily in our genre entertainment realm, it just goes to show that you can do this stuff. And just like you said, Tony, there's plenty of people in our community who have the talent. We all just need to get together and do it. And it's a lot harder to make a movie or a show or a short than it is to make a comic book. But I think we could do it. It's just going to take the time. I mean, I've already been working on some things behind the scenes. I know other people who have been doing things. Script, obviously, is a professional, so already does that kind of stuff. But he's been working with a few people that he's met, you know, throughout here. I can't get into it too much, I'm sure, but
I've been dying.
Yeah,
to
now
make
that's
Biggest
what we made
bitch
the
is
new
always
year.
getting
Yeah.
everybody together in the same place at the same time because, you know, getting people to show up to fill a part and then they don't come. Then
Right.
everybody else is sitting there holding the fucking bag.
Well, it's not even
Hell.
that. Like it's easy. It's on the independent side of things. It's easier to shoot the movie, but it's more difficult to cut it together and get it in ship-shape condition. It's really, really hard because so many. It's not as fun as, you know, going to a set and making your day because you're
Right.
sitting in an editing suite for hours on end trying to make something, watching the same footage over and over again. It eats away at you.
The
if you
grind.
don't- yeah, it's a terrible grind, and a lot of movies end up, you know, getting lost in the edit and maybe even never seen. So you gotta have to take that into account when you're doing a production, independent or otherwise. You have to make sure that whomever you hire or whoever you're working with is willing to see it to the end, and those are really hard to find on the independent side of things.
Lost for Words asks, have we seen the Northman trailer yet? No, but I've been hearing about it. I just haven't got a
It's good.
chance to check it out yet.
I saw it all skippity and laggy the other night, and I was just like, this looks like another Viking thing. Like, okay.
I've heard people are looking forward to it though. Looks like
It's by
interesting.
Eggers, if I recall, by what I read. I haven't seen it.
Willie Woodward sent us a member chat. Thank you for that. Who says, Script, do you know if studios have access to the analytics that places as YouTube has? So if so, why do they seem to ignore it so often? Go ahead with that. If you
They
know the
don't.
answer.
I mean, Kevin Smith dictated it on his podcast. They have X amount of subscribers or X amount of people, potential audience. They're not going to look at a minor percentage that is a dissenting voice. It's just not going to happen. That voice has to be bigger for them to really get the picture. So you take a look at something like this Community. From the Hollywood perspective, they look at it and they're like, oh, it's around 1 million people. And then how many people are in the United States? 350.
Right.
North America total, close to 400. Not irrelevant. They don't care.
But they don't
the arithmetic
extrapolate.
is not in the favor of the people that are speaking out against this type of stuff.
Really, they don't extrapolate that, like in basic marketing. Like, let's say if you identified 1 million people, then depending on the market sector, you can then say it's either 5 to 10 times that type of number, and that would be like a rough guesstimate. That still wouldn't budge them, huh? If it was 10 million, 5 to 10.
It's kind of like Cyrus said, 20,000 more unaffiliated, but ready to fight.
Well, here, think of it this way. You could say you can find 1 million, but you could probably get the same team to find 2 or 3 million with the opposite opinion.
Okay.
Especially on like a social media platform like this. There's so many people that can just say toe the company line, but not actually do anything or spend any money, and it skews the numbers, right?
Right.
And that's just kind of how it is here. You take a look at some of the bigger channels in this community, and even if you add all of their subscribers up and say that there's no overlap, they'd still be like, they could still argue and say we can find channels on YouTube that are just as much, or if not have a higher fan base, that are totally going with what we're doing and be fine with it. And they would call that a negating statistic effect.
Wow.
No.
So you're telling me? So no, I believe you completely. But so they don't look at like Twitter. Most people on Twitter consider. And I'm not talking about us now, or people who are similar to us. I'm talking about the diehards, those hashtag heroes who live on Twitter. Everything that I've read is they don't really, they voice their opinions, they make their videos, they scream to the high heavens, but they don't really spend the money. They don't buy the collectibles. They're not seeing the movies 5-6 times, buying the disc collectors, talking about it, going everywhere, promoting it. They'll just yell about the thing. Do the studios never take that into consideration? Great. We have millions of people who are yelling for us to give them what they want, but they don't actually, but that doesn't translate to money. Like,
not necessarily,
yeah, especially when a lot of those are fucking bot farms.
But what do you do when you have Star Wars? Look at the Star Wars sequels. Their merchandise is like you can find it at Walmart for $1.99. The old Star Wars film, they were sold out. I remember waiting years to be able to like, where is it? They're like, it's gone. The shipment arrived and it was gone within half an hour. You'd think that, at least to me as a layman, it would seem like that speaks to something. They're like, okay, last 3 films, we couldn't keep the stuff in the stores. This time, we got like warehouses filled. Doesn't that translate to them? Well,
it would if it was a direct market, it would translate and hurt Disney really, really terribly. But because you have the retail as the middleman there, the retailers, they buy that stuff from the distributor. So that money's already in the pockets of those studios or
that I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Now, it's like Walmart. Walmart, if they have their DVD stuff, they buy those from like Entertainment One and a bunch of other DVD distributors, and they get their money. And now it's up to Walmart to sell them. And if they want to return them,
a whole bunch of Luke Skywalker.
So they don't go back. They don't go back to Disney and go, "What did you do to us? We're stuck with all this."
No, they can try, but again, it's all up to Disney to say, we'll take the stuff back and give you a credit. But they're not going to do that.
Not often, no. It's just like the comic industry. Once in a while, certain things they will buy back, but it all depends. Warner is pretty good about that, but that's because Warner handles all their own stuff, or at least they used to until recently.
They used to, they got rid of that. We
just
talked about that.
Just recently, yes. Up until recently, they were the only ones who would actually go out, and I actually knew a couple of the people that did this, where it was their job to they were regional. They would go around and they would, every store and place or whatever, they would handle whatever sales that were out there. They would come in, clean out the old stuff, bring in the new stuff. They'd handle all that shit for you. If something wasn't selling and all that stuff, they were real cool about taking it back and shit like that, because then they go and resell it to other places and stuff like that. But no, like once you buy something from a lot of these places, unless it's something that's defective and you can prove it, you're fucking stuck with it.
Like I'll give you an example, at least in the medical industry, since I've been doing that for way too long. Let's say we buy from a medical supply house a certain type of surgical glove, and I get them. We did this. It happened 2 years ago. We bought like 10,000 of them. And none of my nurses liked them. None of the medical assistants liked them. Had a lot of problems. So I called the company up. They're like, okay, no problem. We'll switch it out. Same thing happened. I'm like, okay, I never want to be sold this crap from this company again, anything. And they're like, okay, we'll make sure. About 6 weeks later, I talked to other medical facilities and they had gone through the same thing. So the company pulled the product, the entire company product line, everything they produce from their from their catalogs. They're like, we no longer are pushing this company. So I always figured in the same way, even when I was in retail before that, when we had a shipping and trucking company, when we had carriers who would have issues, it would come to a time where like, okay, we will no longer deal with XYZ.
Chances
brand.
are most of those companies just changed their name.
Here's the other part too, and
I'm
something
not kidding.
for medical. There's legal consequences with defective product far more so
on that
than
part,
anything
yes.
else, right? On
Right.
the entertainment side of thing, not so much. I mean, that's one of the things I miss about Warner Brothers when they took over, when they had their own distribution office, because they would never really give you a refund back. But what they do is they give you the credit, and then you could use that credit to get
Right.
movies that sold. And then they'd take the ones that didn't sell, and they'd find the market where it is moving, and they'd move them over there.
Okay.
And there's a lot of shuffling. It was
Yeah.
really well organized.
Because basically they would have like an alternating, like they would always have like a point of sale box. Like it would change out whatever it was, but it would usually have just a varied amount of movies in there besides whatever their sell-through product was that month.
I guess there's one last thing I'm not understanding. I just want to. I hope I'm not beating a dead horse because I really don't
you're
understand.
good, man.
No, because I don't understand something. Okay, I'm Walmart.
Just because you're being logical. That's the
I
issue.
buy everything. I buy everything for Force Awakens. I buy it all. Cool. Yep. I'm waiting. It doesn't sell. And I'm like, okay, I'll buy everything for The Last Jedi. Doesn't sell. Don't I turn around then? And I turn around and I go, hey, Disney, wake up. None of this shit sold. I didn't complain about it, but fix your shit or I'm not buying anymore.
It doesn't.
That's just the thing. I think
they did that for the Rise of Skywalker.
In a position where they need some shit to put in their store, so they have to keep buying crap.
Bad shit.
Yeah, just keep buying shit. The other part, more regurgitation, consume.
Right, but they don't go up to the studio and say, "Hey, fix your crap. It's not selling." See,
they just order less
because you know what? Like, let's say Walmart does that to Disney. There are two huge companies at play.
Right
now, what is it? Now it's a Target exclusive.
It could be. But the thing is that a lot of retailers did do that after Last Jedi because their merchandise didn't sell. And what was the solution? Well, we'll not have a whole lot of the Rise of Skywalker merchandise. But
my son did not want that fucking toy.
Nobody wanted it for Christmas. I used to get that all the time. Nieces, nephews, cousins. You know, Star Wars was #1 on the list. They didn't want
to go back to your point, George, because you made a really good one. Because there's so many people, whether they're bot accounts or just people with multiple stock accounts promoting stuff across all social media, that's additional free advertising for them. So they're saving money on that stuff. And it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's getting out there so they can use that as an analytic to say, yeah, we're doing our job.
Okay.
And it just really twists the narrative because back in the day when you and I were kids, it's like, yeah, you'd be walking around the mall and then some random person would come up to you with a clipboard and be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah, all the time.
And the thing is, you had a little bit of anonymity, but at the same time, you were able to also be truthful, whereas on the internet, even if you have anonymity, if you don't say the right thing, you have a whole bunch of these other dissenting voices coming after you.
Right.
And it does, whether you're anonymous or not. So like you've got that stigma where you can't really be honest in certain surveys and polls that are done exclusively online, but in person they'd be like, yeah, we'll take your name, we'll keep it private, we'll give you $5, just let us know what you think about this. And then we've got some real hard data to assess what direction a company is going in. But it's because they don't want to send people out anymore.
Do that at the mall.
They do it remotely by the internet. And it's all crazy. We get a manipulated world.
It's just odd. Like that's the
gives
thing.
You $5 to eat some crackers.
Right. It's the same way.
Crackers are shit. These are banging.
You know, Pepsi or Coke, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, I remember it. But it's the same way. I never understood how the Snyderverse. You know, when he released the Snyder cut, I loved it, and I was like, when I saw all of everything being talked about on social media, online magazines, I said, okay, wow, they're going to bring it back. I was thrilled about that, but every day you'd keep reading, you know, they said no, they said no, they said no. And I'm like, well, that's the same thing they said about recutting it and putting his release out. But like when there was a campaign like that, that didn't move them. It seems like they cherry pick what's going to move them to create what, to adapt what, and what isn't. Does that make sense?
Well, to a degree, but also we have to remind people of this. The Snyder Cut is an exception, not the rule, because if we did not have a pandemic, the Snyder Cut would not exist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a Hail Mary. It was a Hail Mary.
It was literally like HBO Max had launched, they needed content, and theaters were closed. It's
That's
like
it,
it's the
okay.
perfect storm. It's like, what do we have? Well, we've got 4 hours of this movie that did not do well in theaters. Let's
I got
release
you.
that so we can at least drive up
Because
subscribers
they
and
knew they had a
entertain
fan base
people at
for
home.
it. Yeah.
Because again,
Yeah.
Snyder had been kind of
Exactly.
pitching it and massaging people at Warner Brothers for a while and not getting any traction. But as soon as that fall of 2019 and the virus started, making some headway, they're like, let's start predicting and seeing if something's going to happen. And as soon as April hit and those lockdowns started, it's like,
Yeah.
all right, well, we got nothing to lose with this. We got to get something out there.
We
Let's
needed
just
something
bite
to
the bullet.
compete. Yeah.
I got you. So the David Ayers cut, I guess, is never coming because he said
It might. I've been hearing
It might, but I
rumblings.
can tell you because I worked on that film. It's not going to be 100% better, but it might be.
because he said it was. Because I read his blog and his
he's gonna
statement
say it is.
that he says it's a completely different film. That the studio is the one that messed it. Well,
They
didn't
like to say
I would
that
say
shit,
it is
but-
different to a degree, but the thing is, they didn't reshoot. They did reshoots, but Ayer did the reshoots, so it's still his stuff. They just cut it in a way where it's a different film.
It's
than
just a different cut.
Because what I understood,
Yeah.
it's supposed to have a whole hour of Joker that they had written. Like
I
it's supposed to
don't
be his kind of.
I don't know if it's
origin.
I only saw the stunt people playing Joker and Harley Quinn when I was there, so I didn't see Leto or Margot Robbie.
Gotcha.
But no, there is a scene where they kill a judge in his bedroom. I remember that because they broke a prop, and I had to be the guy that went down to the place that they rented from and have to explain that.
Oh man, that must have been fun.
It was actually, yeah. But no, there's definitely some more stuff out there. But again, if you take a look at the individual scenes of that Suicide Squad, the quality that you got in performance and dialogue is going to be consistent with whatever cut Ayer does.
Yeah.
And
so it's not like Snyder cut a whole different.
Yeah, like no
I
one
was
came
just
in
gonna
and
say-
reshot his film and rewrote his
Yeah.
script. Like, it's
Yeah,
all
I was just
him.
gonna say, from
I'm
what
just
I've
thinking
heard,
how
it's not
finished are the
astronomically
scenes.
different. Yeah, it's
Oh,
just
okay. Then I
basically like an
misunderstood.
extended cut more than anything. Yeah.
Okay, and then I
Probably
misunderstood
has a
'cause-
bit more to fill in the plot holes and a bit more drama and action, but I don't
He'd
know.
probably pull out the reshoots, and that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so a lot of
it definitely
times
would
your
not be
deleted
edited
scenes
like it's
fall
trying to be
flat,
Guardians of
too.
the Galaxy. That's for sure.
I got you. Okay, I misunderstood. When I read his letter, I was like, "Wow, this sounds like a whole different movie."
I mean, it kind of probably is. I mean, because
Okay.
again, the editing of that is really peculiar.
Yeah.
Right. Like we've never seen editing.
A
like
lot of
that for a
times,
movie.
though, I'll say that's pretty subjective, though, because
Yeah.
look at like what was it, a couple of weeks ago, how many arguments we got in over Rocky IV. Like,
Yeah.
And Godfather 3 when that came out, I was just like, this ain't that much different. It's
I
just
didn't really like that one.
it's a little bit better, but it's just cut in a different order. It's
After
like,
watching Godfather and Godfather 2 and then Godfather 3, why would you ever want to watch Godfather 3 again?
But yeah, I mean, I'm not.
That
gonna
one's got the
disagree that
lines
You
with
can
some of
make
the
a different
memorable
movie out of an
lines.
edit. So
You could, even if you
Yeah.
want to watch a mob movie with Andrew Garcia.
Come on, he's got that. They pulled me back.
You-
even
I was
after
gonna say the third one has
He's
some
got
of the best
more
lines.
options.
Yeah.
third one's is far more quotable.
he's-
Yeah, I guess.
And
He's
it's got
banging
the
his
immortal-
cousin.
I
It's,
know,
it's
but
just
it's got-
gross. Why would you do
It
that
is.
to the family?
But wasn't it like the third cousin or something? That's
Outside of that shit, no, actually, it was first cousin.
What?
But outside
I
Does
didn't
it matter?
realize-
Yeah,
Does
Sonny's-
it matter?
it was
Does it
Sonny's
really
son.
matter?
But the point is outside of that bit in the movie's
You
not bad.
ignore
That's the
lots of
part that
people.
drags the fucking movie down.
Yeah, it breaks suspend disbelief.
I like
It's
the
like,
rest
now,
of the
now you're
shit.
shitting on this family we came to know and love.
I like the shit where he's trying to like buy into the church to like fix
Yeah.
his image and all
I
that
did like
business.
that.
Oh yeah, that was all decent.
and they were more corrupt than he was.
Exactly. Yes.
for real.
Diego
I-
says, "Go ahead, George."
No, I was just going to say it also has the immortal George Hamilton. That guy never ages. It's like
because he's
William
in his
Dafoe.
tanning booth all the time.
I know, but what is it? I've seen other people who do tanning booths all the time, and they look like shoe leather.
He knows just
Him
when
and
to pull out.
Well, the thing is, what stress does the guy
Spider-Man.
really
I'm
have?
like, I saw William Dafoe in Spider-Man. I was like, I was so stunned. I looked to the person next to him, like, does that fucking guy ever age? And he's like, huh? I'm like, don't
He's
worry
been
about
doing
it.
it enough years. He knows the precise up to the second when to get out of that booth before it makes him age.
But William Dafoe too, he doesn't tan. Look at him. The guy's like,
No, Willem Dafoe has just
Willem
always
Dafoe
looked
looks
that
like
way.
he looks
Yeah.
like he's ready to
Have you
go
seen
be a
Streets of
firefighter
Rage?
right now.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's just never. He's kind of like Steve Buscemi. He's like eternally 60.
Okay.
Oh, and Tommy Lee
Streets of-
Jones.
Streets
Yeah.
of
That's
Fire,
I was gonna
Streets
say
of
like
Fire.
like
Tommy Lee
Buscemi
Jones, yeah.
and Ric Flair. Ric Flair's been 60 years old for like 30 years.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I thought he looked old.
Woo. Diego Flores says, I prefer that butter salt they use here, but that is because I love salt.
Hell
There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that, man. I'm a salt mine for salt.
Tony Ewell
so.
says, how could passionate fans become newer producers? Well, that goes in with what I said earlier. That comes in with the crowdfunding
Commitment.
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, like that's part of it. The other part is you got to have either money or connections.
Hey, I want to make a movie.
but- yeah,
Who-
Money,
let's make a
connections,
movie. Let's make a
discipline.
movie.
Trait
we're working on it.
conscientiousness.
You gotta tell me about that later, Tom.
there's
Oh,
a few
casting
ideas
couch
going on.
incoming.
Huh?
I said casting couch incoming.
What kind of movie are we going to make? Space opera sounds expensive.
Sounds like
Let's
we're going to
go
make a
for
couple
something
with the
cheap.
casting couch there. Robert Montoya says, if the Avengers were made in the 80s, Bruce Willis is Iron Man, Arnold Schwarzenegger is Thor,
Oh,
and Stallone is Captain America. Picture it.
Sorry,
I
be Tom
did.
Selleck as Iron Man.
Tom Selleck, yeah.
Yeah, I
I-
don't know. Well, I'd say Tom Selleck can make a good Captain America too.
Do you know what's odd about Tom Selleck?
As Captain America would be weird as fuck.
shield.
I've never understood. Tom Selleck seems, when he's on television, to always find success. But I remember his movies; they never seem to
3 Men and a
make
Baby.
him. But that really wasn't. That's the
I
three
could-
of them.
Well, that's
I
kinda
never
like a
liked
rock
that movie.
thing, yeah.
Honestly,
I think
know
it's
everybody
because
loves that, but I'd never
Tom,
liked that.
no,
one at
you're
all.
making a great point, George, because Tom Selleck has this authenticity to his performances and a casualness to how he does things, and it works really well on television. But he did like a science fiction cop film where he takes that same
yeah.
mentality, and it's like he makes it really believable that this is a cop in that time.
Runaway,
but it's,
isn't it?
It's supposed,
Well,
Runaway, but it's
yeah, I
supposed to be a
thought
bit
Selleck is a
bigger
great
than
cop.
life story, and he's playing it so natural and authentic
Right.
that it doesn't kind of mix with the rest. And you're like,
Well, when
yeah,
you got
I don't-
Gene Simmons on the other end, I mean,
Yeah, that's.
yeah, Gene
Well, he
Simmons
did-
and
I mean,
robots.
It's like I love Quigley, and then he did one called High Road to China when I was young. Stuff like that.
Quigley
I really-
became more of a video hit. Yeah,
a cult hit, but it's like none of his films. Right after Magnum PI, it's like he got all those films. High Road to China. Then he did some like prisoner film where he was a prisoner, and then he was in the.
well, in an alternate Spidey verse, he's actually Harrison Ford.
What?
Yeah,
What
he was
the-
almost Indiana Jones.
Are you
But
kidding?
He
me?
was
Something
cast
was.
as Indiana Jones.
No shit. Are
There's
you
even a
being
screen
serious?
test out there.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh wow!
I mean,
That
Chip
was
and Dale
wrong.
Rescue Rangers are both Tom Selleck characters.
Do you think
Or
I
would
would
have
have
been.
bombed if it was with him? Because I think it would have.
Dude,
No, I think it.
I
don't
never
think so,
realized
no.
that.
He just
That-
never
that's
pulled it
messed
off.
up.
Yeah, didn't you know that the Rescue
No.
Rangers are Indiana Jones and Magnum
Magnum
PI?
PI.
I
No,
never,
I
I
hadn't.
never made the Magnum PI connection. I just thought he
Wow.
was wearing a Hawaiian shirt because he was, kind of slow.
It's like a
Dang.
Hollywood in joke because Tom Selleck was cast. That's who George Lucas was set on.
Wow. And
But
what changed his mind?
well,
So
what
he's-
happened was he had done the audition for Magnum PI or whatever prior to that,
Hmm.
and then after he got they hadn't signed the deal yet, but he had gotten picked. Like they did this.
The show picked up, yeah.
The show got picked up. They did the pilot,
Mhm.
and the show got picked up. So he was contractually obligated to do Magnum PI.
Oh.
So
Wow,
with
I
that,
didn't know
then George went and begged Harrison Ford to do it.
And then Harrison Ford fell in love with the role and said, "This is mine."
Oh,
Yeah, because
okay.
Harrison didn't really. Harrison was one of those guys. He never really wanted to be an actor.
Which is odd because, like, he
He was
says he
fixing a
hates
door at the
Star
time when
Wars.
he
He
got
hates
discovered.
this.
The only reason he got the job on Star Wars is because he kept reading the sides, and every time he'd go up against other people as Han Solo, Lucas started falling in love with it, and then Palma pointed out, he's like, he should really play Han Solo.
Well, who was supposed to be Han before him?
Well, they were really
Christopher Walken.
they were close
audition
on
was-
Walken and Kurt
Are you
Russell.
serious?
Carl
That
Walker.
would have been fucking epic.
Walking.
I love
This is
Christopher
my
Walken so
friend
much.
Chewie.
Back in his Deer Hunter days, that would have been some dark ass Han Solo.
I know. Talk about it. What do we? Jesus.
But
Really,
the thing
like,
is,
I was
Harrison
coming
Ford
home.
loves Indiana Jones because it's the character least like him.
I liked him.
Han Solo is quite has a lot of similarities to Harrison Ford, and he doesn't like playing himself.
Well,
Yes.
I can respect that. That means he doesn't want to be a self-insert. So I do respect that.
Like, I saw him in Mosquito Coast when I was younger, and I remember an interview he gave. Like, he said that was one of his favorite films. I'm like, really? That's just I always thought,
It probably had more with something to
Han.
do that he was doing when he was there making it than anything. But yeah,
Mm.
because he's like, he don't give a shit.
He ain't gonna be the president of the United States ever, so he must have enjoyed being the president then as well. So
Get off my plane.
He
Yeah.
probably forgets about being in that movie.
I know he forgets about being in Firewall.
I was in a movie once.
What are you saying? I was in a movie.
I thought I really found the Holy Grail.
You know what? I don't want to remember.
John Connery is
Crystal
my
Skull,
father.
So.
Yeah, Sean Connery.
I did an Indiana Jones.
What do you mean he's not my
Aliens.
dad?
What was his last film, Connery's? I missed the
Oh,
fact
that was
this
League of
one-
Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? That
That was
was
his last
literally
movie?
his
That
That was
last
his
movie.
last film. I know it's a
Unfortunately,
shame.
yeah.
There was
Maybe
supposed
he
to be a
should've stopped
sequel,
at The
but it
Rock.
didn't.
Well, here's what happened was he turned down Gandalf.
Oh, really?
Yep, he did. That's
And he
right.
took
he did.
Tom, you
League
know
of
all these
Extraordinary
epic things
Gentlemen
that could have
instead.
happened.
And he took League of Extraordinary Gentlemen instead.
Wow.
And
Wow.
during the making of it, he got so depressed that he decided to quit altogether.
Right.
He's like, I don't understand this shit no
should've been
more.
Gandalf.
Yeah, I should have been Gandalf.
That
I think it was
would've
because he
been-
didn't want to go to New Zealand, and they probably offered him a lot more to play in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. probably.
I can't even imagine.
Well, the
how
other
that
part
would
too is
sound.
it'd be making 3 movies back to back
On top
and-
of it, yeah.
on top of that, and I don't think he wanted to do that, have that much of a production time without seeing a
Yeah, I
result.
got to try this. A wizard is never early or late. He arrives precisely when he is needed.
No, he could have done great Gandalf. I don't think
Oh,
that would
yeah.
yeah.
He'd have been
You
an
shall
extra-
not pass.
Yeah, that
You
would-
shall not pass.
that
You
would
should
have
curse
been-
gotta
that
add that
in Scottish.
on the end.
But it's also
You
like the
shall
Sean
not
Connery
pass.
smirk smile that he does. That would be great for that's to see in the Gandalf beard.
Hell yeah.
He would have been amazing.
He would have.
Yeah.
I mean, I love
Uh,
McKellen's
Sean
performance,
Connery,
but
man.
Connery would have been
Oh yeah, nothing to take away from McKellen, of course.
beautiful. I
Absolutely.
love it.
Oh, he did a great job. He's a great Gandalf. But
Yeah.
Connery's Connery, man.
It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, we can't get the Beatles and you got the Rolling Stones. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm good
Have
with
the
that.
Rolling Stones killed.
yeah. Wow. To
Although
think
I'd
about how many
say
people.
Connery's more the one than the other, but yeah.
Was it true then that Cruise was supposed to be also Iron Man at one time?
That
Yeah.
was
Or is that a myth?
He was vying for it.
Oh.
Yep, I remember
there's
that.
two
when
or
Cruise
three
was
different
supposed to be
versions of
Iron
that
Man.
story. Yeah. There's one version of the story where he was offered it and didn't take it.
Because I can't
There's-
see him. as
There's
a-
the version that script just said where he was the one who wanted it and they didn't it was just
Well,
never
when
gonna be a
Paramount
thing.
was negotiating with the starting up Marvel Studios, Tom Cruise, there's people at Paramount that wanted Tom Cruise to do it, and then after that was being circulated around, Tom Cruise said he'd be very interested in doing it because it's no role he'd never kind of done before. And yeah, that was kind of up in the air, and then that eventually fell through. Favreau got on board, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang did really well independently, and Robert Downey Jr. was kind of back on the wagon, so to speak. And yeah, they made a good argument for him, and RDJ was like, "Yeah, I'll do this. Why not? Be a superhero."
Well, essentially, they got RDJ for a third of the price, if not
Yeah.
less.
They got him very
Yeah,
cheap.
right.
but not for
Very
nothing.
cheap.
Does Robert Downey Jr. not look like the drawings of
He
Tony
does.
Stark?
Good. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
perfectly
Like,
cast.
that is just so easy to just.
Yeah, I mean, also his
Done.
wife at the time, who's current wife now, but she was new at the time because she was just like, "You are straightening out, and I'm not letting you see any of your old friends because they all were terrible for you." And that did put a divide in town for a while, but our Robert Downey Jr. has been very successful because of her,
Thank
and
God.
you know, having a good woman in his side that's able to keep him away from waking up in dumpsters in other people's houses from benders. So like, I think he's pretty happy with that.
Well, as I like to say, he went from waking up in kids' beds to being on the bed sheets of kids' beds. It's the fucking truth.
I know. I'm just, you know what I'm surprised is that Cruise has never gone after a superhero role.
He
If anything, I would think maybe Captain America, but like
In the
10
early
years ago,
90s,
Captain America,
and
yeah, something.
In the early 90s, there was talks about him being Nightwing before Chris O'Donnell.
Really?
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
just
but he
don't
didn't want to do it. He didn't want to be second billing to another actor.
Yeah, and he's more apt to take on things like Mission Impossible and all that other stuff that he can kind of have a little bit more freedom with.
He could maybe pull off a good Forge, but Forge I'd always pictured as Hispanic.
He looks Hispanic, but he's native. He's
Nick
native.
has to actually
He's
run
native?
because I'm supposed to be joining him shortly on the Die Hard talk here.
Oh,
But we got
Die
some
Hard's
we got some super chats to get to, and we got a story or two to get here quick. But thank you for being here, Nick. I'll be over soon. I'm gonna send everybody over. Oh, you got
Oh,
Great sweater.
dude. I love that.
In case you
so
ever
much.
wondered if Die Hard was really a Christmas movie, I think that sweater says it all.
It does indeed.
Yeah, no, hey, Tom, thank you for inviting me on. It's awesome chat,
Always,
box
yeah.
office numbers and stats, you, Script, and Jesse, and George. So it's always also nice to listen on the inside. So I'm going to go head over to Toxic Tuesday. Obviously, you know what movie we're talking about if I'm wearing this. So I'll see you all there shortly. All right,
You
guys.
guys, you're not just wearing a bloody shirt that says, "No, I have a machine gun."
Oh.
All right, guys. I'll see you in a few.
See you
Take
in a
care,
bit.
chat.
Tony
I
Yule
love that
says,
fucking guy.
okay, the Snyder Cut is basically the original concept that Zach wrote and shot, with an entire origin story of Cyborg and added scenes of the Flash. Yeah, fairly accurate-ish. Tony Yule then says, hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Well, you might get your wish, my friend.
There's talks about something. I think this is
The
going to be
only-
2022 is the Hail Mary year for Snyderverse, really.
The only thing that is kind of going...
Oh, sorry.
I say the only thing that's going against it was Ben Affleck's most recent interview.
What is that?
He was talking about how he's sick and tired of playing IPs.
Oh, come on.
Basically
no.
putting a big old like fucking dart in the heart of
He's the perfect
possibility of playing Batman again, outside of the few times he's contractually obligated to.
Isn't any movie he ever makes ever technically an intellectual property?
Yeah, I mean,
well, he's
Good Will
talking
Hunting
about
was original.
No,
He
yeah, he wants to go
I don't
back
want to
to
do sit-ups. I want to eat Twinkies.
He wants to make his
Sleep
kind of
Noon.
movies like The Town and Argo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he really? I thought his whole love by years ago when he said Batman was like a dream.
Oh,
This
no.
whole thing turned into a nightmare.
It was a nightmare, not just with
He wanted
the
it,
studio
but
production
yeah.
involved, but also like with the actual production and the changing of directors and the different things. And there's rumors that he got into arguments, not just like he dug the Zack Snyder's approach to the character, but he didn't dig the execution, but he wallowed with it because he was told that he would be able to do his own Batman movie one day and then he could make the character the way he wanted to do it. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff throwing
But
around.
he gave that up. Why did he give that up when he was going to
He
direct?
lost his marriage as a result of it.
I didn't know that
it
was
broke him. Yeah.
Whoops.
A movie.
They took it away
Yeah,
from him too, like midstream.
Oh, because
There's
that
that also,
made it
yeah.
sound like he gave it up. That's the
They
interview.
went from Zack Snyder running everything.
To
Then
Jeff
they
Johns.
temporarily gave it over to Ben Affleck, and then quickly gave it to Jeff Johns and Berg. What's his name? John Berg, I think it is. And then those guys got shit canned and moved around because now Jeff Johns got delegated over to fucking comic books again, and they moved.
He's comic
Berg
books and
over to
TV
somebody.
right now.
Yeah, they moved Berg over to somewhere else, and then Hamada was running things for a while. And wait, there's somebody else I'm missing in between there.
Curly Moe and Larry.
No, there's somebody
It
else.
sounds
I'm
like a real
missing.
recipe for success.
Oh, there's what's her name?
No, Ann Sarnoff's there now, but there was is Hamada or somebody who got fired, I thought, in between there.
Well, there's Killar.
No,
There's,
not him.
oh crap! There's one. Oh, I know the name. Son of a gun, it's escaping me. But he was before Hamada.
Whoever greenlit Aquaman and Birds of Prey and shit.
Yeah, crap.
I'm trying to remember his name. But yeah, then there was Hamada after that, who's in control now, pretty much. But yeah,
Don't
it's
Snyder and him, aren't they best friends?
It's
Hamada.
the New Line guy, right?
No, with Ben Affleck. Like if Snyder gets greenlit, wouldn't Affleck go along because of Snyder?
Maybe,
Not necessarily. Because here's the thing: Affleck is objectively the better filmmaker and director than Snyder.
Okay.
And Affleck did have to pull a lot of extra weight during his time with them, which is, I mean, again, a smart director would actually ask for actors to do some extra stuff, not really directing wise, but just, get the crew morale and, get everything.
I can't
situated,
wait
things
till
going
10 years
so-
from now when all the books are written about this period.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people have Toby Emmerich. Thank you, Sandra Hamaslag. Yes. Toby
Yeah, but
Emmerich.
he's not who I'm thinking of either, though. I know
But
Toby.
he definitely had his fingers in a lot of the pie.
He
How
did.
many
but
people
Snyder-
have their fingers in this?
too many when it comes to
Too
Warner
many.
Brothers.
But
Then this
Snyder
would
is
be
more
one
of
That's
ball.
what she said, George.
Yeah.
Snyder is way more of a cinematographer and
I
storyboard
love
artist than he is a director
cinematography.
because,
Yeah.
and I'll put this out there. Anyone in the chat who can give me an example, I'd be very grateful for because I have not seen it myself, but I cannot think of an actor, like a really good actor, that has delivered a better performance in a Zack Snyder film than in any other film they've been in.
So if an actor-
That's a very good point.
Because a director's job is not just to get like the visuals aspect of it down, but to get the performance out of the
Best
actor. I've
performance.
never seen Zack Snyder do that with anyone. And even for Dawn of the Dead remake, I'd say that's more dependent on the script because it was a really good script by
I was gonna
James
say
Gunn.
that
What
chick
about
was
the
in it, but I don't
300?
think I've seen her in anything
The
else.
300, Lauren Hetty.
Oh no, all those guys are better than
300? No,
that.
that.
No, Lauren. What's her name? Not Gerard Butler. Lauren. I always thought that was one of her best. I didn't like her early work.
What's her name?
Lauren. It's like Headley or Hetty.
Oh,
white
Lena
girl.
Headey.
Lena Headley.
Lena
not
Headley.
Lauren.
Isn't she the one
did a
that's
better
been-
performance in Terminator
Cersei.
TV series than she did.
Yeah, I was
in
gonna say, yeah, she did actually.
I haven't
And
seen
isn't
it.
she the one that's heading up that fucking Wheel of Time show now? Or who am I thinking of?
I haven't
I
seen
know.
it.
I know she. I think she's a Wookiee.
Is
I
she?
don't know. Tony
Yeah.
Yule this sends in
Probably. She
another
also had a better
$5.
performance in Dread than in 300 too. So
Yule is living up to
Really?
his name
Okay.
here with the
It's true.
spirit
I'll
anyway.
watch that.
Says, in spite current events, can James Bond or the real Doctor Who ever come back as the way they were in or are they permanently dead? Well,
I can fix Doctor Who.
both of them could come back, but I think James Bond is we're gonna end up getting like James
Find me a
By
young
for a
Sean
while.
Connery, and yes,
We'll get a James By for a while, and then when that tanks, then they'll go back to formula.
James By. You mean a dude or a girl?
It'll
I
be a
keep reading
dude.
the girl.
It'll be a dude,
it goes both ways.
but he'll go both ways. Yes.
Both ways meaning two girls on either side, or
No.
James.
Not like back in the day. No.
He will kiss the girl and then kiss her boyfriend.
So he's going to be cucked. He's going to be cucked. Jesus, how they expect? I thought Broccoli said that they were going to always.
She said, and
From
she
Russia
He's going
with
to be a
love.
man.
She
But
said
doesn't
he's
mean he
going to
can't
stay a
be gay.
man, but
No,
that doesn't
said
mean
he's
that he
gonna
won't
stay-
necessarily not be LGBTQ.
No, that's not what I meant.
Tom,
She
are
said
they
he was always going to
remaking
stay
Thunderball?
Bond as Bond. That his core.
Oh, she walked that back quickly.
Did she? Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know that either. Damn.
Unfortunately.
I'm behind. Jesus.
Yeah, well, no, this is actually just news like last week or whatever it was, wasn't it? Is big news.
I just remember
At least
before
a week
now.
or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, if it wasn't a week, it was 2 weeks ago. But like, yeah, she
Okay.
said it in an interview. She's like, "Oh yeah,
Wow.
Bond will always be a man, but that does not mean that he won't be possibly bisexual or gay or something."
See,
like that.
where I was last was before it was released, when everyone was freaking out after they did that last trailer, and people were realizing that that female was also a 007, and she had come out to make a statement. Bond will always be Bond. Go watch.
Yeah,
the
but even
film.
in that, she still just said Bond. She didn't say 007.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
You know,
But can
so
you-
there was that door open too.
Can you fix Doctor Who? Tony Yule saying. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can
easily.
fix Doctor Who.
really? After
Yeah,
what
and I
they
can
did
make
to-
it so that you don't have to ignore the Jodie Whittaker seasons as well.
Okay.
Make them
I
a
believe you.
bad dream.
No, I'll spoil it. I don't care. I want someone
kidding.
to do it. So you have in Doctor Who mythos, you have the Doctor, and you have one of his rivals, the Master, who has like the same ability to regenerate.
Right.
Well, I would say the Jodie Whittaker Doctor is a new type of person called the Imposter, and what she does is she kidnaps people, puts them in like a time bubble, and then poses as them and does her own thing.
I
And
like
she
that.
would be the timeless child who the regeneration technology came from, and because she has no identity, that makes her like a tragic villain, but also a very dangerous one. And then you just have
Wow.
Peter Capaldi somewhere, trying to escape his time bubble and reclaim his mantle as the Doctor because he is the Doctor. And there's only, 13 Doctors. Hartnell is the first Doctor. And
Okay.
it's just everything that Jodie has done, everything that she has done so far in the series just makes her a very dangerous villain because she was able to accomplish this. And
I love that.
He's
How
a
do we get
doctor.
you to the BBC now?
I should be legally allowed to because I am Canadian and the creator of Doctor Who was Canadian.
Who just
So,
bought?
they can't
Didn't
argue
somebody
against
just
it.
buy into the rights to it too? Sony or some shit like that?
For U.S. distribution rights, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Jesus,
But yeah,
that
that's
is a
how I would do
brilliant
it. I would write
idea.
this really nicely done epic story where I'd have to watch a little bit more of the Jodie Whittaker stuff because I tuned out of that really quick. Like I skipped Capaldi because I hated his introduction episode. I thought that was a disservice to
Yeah.
him as an actor. But then I did glance at one of the Jodie episodes. I'm like, this is really bad because this is not the Doctor. And I'm like, this is an imposter. I'm like, bing, that's my idea. That's how it is. She's the imposter.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
And then-
Did you see the environmental episode where it was literally like talking to the audience? I mean,
Yeah.
it was breaking the fourth wall, I felt.
It was, but but you could just completely argue that she's psychotic. And so
Okay.
like she's
I like it.
Well, that's not a far jump.
You make it like, you shouldn't be taking other people's lives. It's evil, it's horrible, and it's a disservice to what you are. Try and make your own identity, and that's the gimmick. So then you can bring the imposter back as other actors trying to steal other people, famous people in history, and then change timelines and whatnot. And yeah, there you go.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Wow.
Well, we got to get to these news stories so I can get on over to 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. We get a moment of silence for Bob Iger. He is now no longer, or he's stepping down. He's done. He's over.
I thought he was dead. Jesus.
No, he's not dead.
The way you said it, I was like,
his career is
no such luck.
So much for those presidential aspirations.
Isn't this the third time he's done this? I thought.
Technically, yes, but this is it. This is done. He's done.
This is supposedly the last. Yeah.
But he said last time he was done.
He goes, I'm being resolute about it this time around. I haven't. I'm reading quotes here. One second guesser hesitated. Bullshit, you didn't. But bullshit. He tells me it's bittersweet. I'm going to miss people and I'm going to miss creative process. Iger, who turned 71 in February and who began his career at age 23 at ABC as a weatherman, is one of the only 6 CEOs to lead Disney since its founding in 1923 until Bob Chapek assumed the role in February.
Did they say that he was all 6 CEOs? No, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm not reading all this bullshit, by the way.
I mean, does this mean like he'll be back at the end of summer?
Maybe.
I mean, because I can't tell. Every time he says he's leaving, a few months later, it's like, oh, I'm coming back to consult.
I'm leaving. Oh, Lord. Let's see here. The other thing that happened that was big news is Dark Horse was purchased by Embracer.
Wow.
Now, Jesse, are you familiar with Embracer? Because you're our gaming
I've
guy.
never heard of Embracer.
They're a gaming company, evidently.
What have they made?
I don't know. That's what I was asking you.
I never heard of them.
But yeah, so they bought a bunch of stuff in this acquisition. Dark Horse, of course, who has many licenses, but does own things, such as the Umbrella Academy, Hellboy, The Mask, just to name a few. They also own Time Cop. So I want a video game with JBCD as Time Cop doing the splits.
Oh, they're Saints Row.
Saints Row.
Island, Dead Island was a good game. Right. Darksiders Metro.
So chances are, I would expect you to see some video games from those properties sometime soon. On top of probably some new television shows and movies.
Borderlands.
So they made Borderlands. Right.
Well, it says and Borderlands amongst many others.
Well, as long as it's a game, that means they probably own that IP. So,
no, that's definitely a game.
Yeah. So there you go. They're adding those IPs to their repertoire. There you go. And they're also connected with THQ Nordic.
Okay. I'm a little bit familiar with them.
No, it's not George Harrison's Dark Horse. Yeah.
Or
not Madonna.
Wow, so that's where THQ is still a company.
That's Borderline, not Borderland. Borderline. I said Jeff Johns before. It was somebody else. I was Sujihara or somebody like that. I can't remember.
Kevin Sujihara, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
Embracer is just the old THQ guys.
Yeah. There was another story I wanted to talk about, but we're gonna save that one, I think, because
they made Goat Simulator.
Goat Simulator?
What the fuck?
Goat Simulator sounds stupid, but it's the funniest fucking thing ever.
Okay.
Just go watch a video.
All right, I will.
It's stupid, but it's fun.
But with that, we got one more super chat from Tony Yule here, who says 2 new shows coming out next year. Halo, based off the game, produced by Steven Spielberg, and will be on Paramount. But guess who else is involved with that now? Mr. Kurtzman. Next year, and Power Rangers Reunion, Power Rangers Quantum on Netflix.
Wait, is that going to be like The 92 Power Rangers?
I don't know who owns it now, because didn't Saban buy it back or some shit?
Saban bought it back from Disney at a discount, made a ton of money. I think he still owns it.
I think so. Yeah.
Do you know
And
what-
I know only 4 of the original 5 are alive. But sadly, Tui Twang, who played the Yellow Ranger, died in a car accident. many
Isn't
years
one
ago.
in prison?
No.
No, that's of a much later series.
Oh, okay.
Not of the original 5. No.
Oh, and he also points out to look out for Dragon Ball Legacy as well. And I'd like to say this episode's of Midnight Edge After Dark has been brought to you in part by Tony Yule. So thank you. So yeah, did you have another question there, George? You were going to ask?
I was saying it's sad when you were reading Tony Yule's super chat, and it's like talking about Halo coming from Steven Spielberg. I mean, almost like when I heard Halo, I was like, yeah, and then Spielberg, I'm like, no. And I was like,
Kurtzman's on that too.
Kurtzman, and just how things have changed. When I was little, when you'd hear Spielberg, I'd be like, oh, it's going to be great. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to love it. Now it's like,
He
Schindler's
sadly hasn't
List
been
was
in
a long
the
time
same
ago.
years.
He's fallen very far.
No, his last good movie was Catch Me If You Can. That was it.
That was a good movie. I
Yeah.
quite enjoyed that.
I just don't
I
understand.
mean, I
how
did
you
enjoy
go-
Munich, but
And
I
you know
liked
what?
Munich.
Catch Me If You Can was him making a Robert Zemeckis movie.
yeah, that's ironic. Yeah.
Isn't
It
it?
is.
Yep.
Now that I say that, you're like, fuck, that is a Robert Zemeckis movie.
Yeah, that is very much a Robert Zemeckis likes movie.
Yeah. Wow.
It was
I-
his
I like
follow-up to
Munich.
Forrest Gump in Another World.
Indeed.
They never did get to make Forrest Gump 2.
Were they supposed to?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
actually is a
Yeah,
sequel
it was
for
called
that reason.
Forrest Gump Harder.
No.
Well, but they already concluded it. He lost the girl and did all.
Well, actually, the author went and wrote a sequel book for that specific reason, and it just never came to be because,
And
Tom
he made
Hanks
a joke
didn't-
about the movie in that sequel book.
yeah,
too.
he hemmed and hawed for a while, and then he just said, nah. They even put in there in the book because Tom Hanks was on stage with David Letterman for the Oscars the year after, or whatever it was, or the year of. So they actually wrote that in the book, but instead of Tom Hanks, it's
It's Forrest
Forrest
Gump.
Gump.
And why Tom Hanks didn't want it? He just didn't want to have that
He
baggage.
just, I don't know.
Because it
he
was
just-
a depressing movie about raising an AIDS baby without the mother being alive.
I'm still questioning that whole age thing. But anyhow, moving on, like, yeah, the whole thing is I think he just wasn't quite, I don't know if they wanted to pay him enough or what the deal was. And he just probably got to a point where I'm just too old to do it now.
Dude,
And then
if
Haley
they
Joel
did it,
Osment is now 30. So
I think he was smart enough to know if he ever did another Forrest Gump movie, he could never make it the same. And
That
it would
was
just
probably the other thing.
destroy everything.
not only that, Robert Zemeckis got too into making his cartoons.
Yeah, he really liked the motion capture stuff, and I think he should go back to
Me too.
real movies. Not that those aren't real, but you know what I mean.
It's like he became what George Lucas was going to be.
Yeah, he had a chip
Without the experimentation, yeah.
Right.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Because like George is like, someday we're not even going to need actors.
Yeah.
Which George would love because he again, I would say, not to conflate anything, but George Lucas does have difficulty getting good performances out of actors.
Fucker beat me to it.
He was horrible with Hayden Christensen, and I like Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen, have you seen Awake?
I've seen Awake, and I've also seen
Hayden Christensen is surprisingly good in that.
He is. That's why
I'm trying to remember. I think I saw that.
Also, I thought he was pretty good in Glass, but I
saw
mean, just
Jumper.
I didn't see Jumper. I saw like 10 minutes of it, and something happened, and I just never got
It was
back
kind
to it.
of. Well, there's another story. I'm going to save that, but we're going to wrap this up, kids. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all, and appreciate George popping in here too. Check out
Thank
Scripps
you.
channel. Check out Jesse's channel, and we're going to head over to 32 Flavors of Nick Weisers right now. So follow me over there. Here's the link. Tell them I sent you just to show some love, and you'll
It's
find me.
Die
popping
Hard
in there.
conversation, guys.
We're talking Die Hard. I'm going to go grab a drink and I'm going to talk some Die Hard. I'm missing it already. So with that, kids, we're going to get the hell out of here. I love you. Good night. I think we're going to do a show Thursday. So see you then. We'll probably talk some Matrix at some point if I watch it. We'll see.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Yep.
Take care of
Yes.
yourselves and each other.
That's cute. I remember when I